Welcome to the Travel Civil and Criminal Legal Assistance Performance Measures Training. My name is Vanessa Marino Rivera, and I'm a TCCLA Research Associate. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to learn more about TCCLA's performance measures and how to report them in the PMT system. Today we'll be discussing performance measures, reporting review, questionnaire structure, common reporting challenges, and frequently asked questions. At the end of this training, you should walk away with a better understanding of why BJA requires you to report performance measures and how we use this information. During the training, you'll get an in-depth review of TCCLA's specific reporting and some issues we see in reporting. This section of the training will provide an overview of performance measures and the reporting process. So what exactly is the PMT? The Performance Measurement Tool is the online data collection tool for Office of Justice Programs grant recipients. It is structured as an online questionnaire and is available year-round. The PMT contains lots of information and tools to assist you in your reporting. So let's take a look. This table outlines the type of data you'll be reporting each reporting period, when your reports are due in the PMT, and whether you also need to upload your reports to GMS. As you can see from the alternating values under the second column, you'll only report on the narrative questions in January, July, and during your last reporting period of grant activity, regardless of where this falls on the schedule. As you can see from the table, the PMT is only open for data entry during the month after a reporting period closes. The PMT is accessible year-round for you to review and edit your data, generate reports, and more, but you will need to contact the PMT help desk to help you unlock reports as needed. The first page of each performance measure questionnaire outlines additional resources that may be helpful as you report. It includes reminders about the program's goals and objectives and lists contact information for the PMT help desk and state policy advisors if you need to reach out with any questions. We'd like to note each program's goals and objectives as a reminder of why we are asking you to fill out this questionnaire each quarter. The measures are ultimately there to assess your progress toward the TCCLA's program's goals, which is to provide civil and criminal legal assistance services for Indian tribes, members of Indian tribes, and tribal justice systems pursuant to the federal poverty guidelines. We also have a reporting tip on this slide. These reporting tips may appear throughout the presentation where we think there's additional information that can help clarify PMT reporting. This one highlights that some grantees find it easier to track the required data outside the PMT in smaller time increments, maybe by a week or by month, and then add it all together when it's time for the PMT to get the reporting period totals. We strongly encourage you to use whatever approach makes it easiest for you to report your totals each reporting period. So what are performance measures? Performance measures are comprised of inputs, activities, outputs, and outcomes. Inputs refer to program resources. Examples include grant funding, also existing tribal codes, policies and procedures, information, and analytical resources. Activities are the actions that convert inputs to outputs that eventually result in measurable progress toward the program's goal. These can include things like assessing tribal codes, policies, and procedures, and also hiring personnel. Outputs are the countable products or services that result from these actions. New tribal codes, policies, or procedures written, for example, may result in improving codes, policies, and procedures. Lastly, outcomes speak to longer-term program goals. For example, while collecting data regarding new tribal codes, policies, or written procedures is important, it is not the end goal. Performance measures benefit BJA in the following: identifying areas of success and potential areas of improvement, to track grant activity and progress towards program goals, to understand how funds are being distributed, and to comply with the law. Performance measures benefit the grantees as follows: areas for improvement to focus internal efforts, activity requests to address challenges, and generate evidence of progress toward program. Now let's get into the questionnaire structure. The performance measures have multiple structures and functions. The structure of the performances can be multiple choice, multiple responses, or open text. Also, the function of performance measures can vary. Functions include baseline questions, carry forward questions, and skip flow questions. As mentioned in the earlier part of the training, the questions in the PMT are made up of two main categories. The first is the quantitative program performance measures. This is where you enter the numeric data you collected over the course of the reporting period. For example, how many dollars were spent on law enforcement equipment during this reporting period? The second section are the qualitative narrative questions. These questions are open-ended and do not require a numeric response. The narrative questions that are answered during the April through June and October through December reporting periods fall into this category. An example of this type of question could be, what challenges did you face in completing your program's goals during this reporting period? Remember, these questions are meant to capture the full experience you have with conducting activities with BJA funds. So the more information you provide, the better. The quantitative data you report is used to establish baselines, track performance against program goals, and create a nationwide picture of numeric data for BJA. Narrative questions are open-ended and give grantees a chance to express in their own words how their experience has been conducting program activities with BJA funding. Both of these categories are equally important for your reporting, and you should take every possible measure to ensure the accuracy and integrity of your data. Now let's get into common reporting challenges. Many of the questions in TCCLA's performance measures questionnaire are related. During the data verification process, analysts examine related questions to ensure sites are reporting consistently. Below are examples of related questions. For example, if you report that there were new cases for criminal legal assistance services were provided and they were opened, then you report the number of defendants served in the U.S. military in question 37. Also, if you report that there were new cases where criminal legal assistance services were provided that were opened, then you would report the number of juveniles or adults and whether the case was tribal, state, federal, or other types of courts in question 40. Skip flow questions were already covered in Section 2 under Questionnaire Structure. However, the TCCLA program have multiple skip flow questions and thus should be followed accordingly. The given question is an example of a skip flow question. Question 6026 states, have staff who work with the legal assistant programs attended any internal or external trainings? If you answer no to question 26, you would then skip question 27 and answer question 28. Similarly, if you answer no to question 28, you would then skip questions 29 and 30. Grantees are required to provide a response to all mandatory measures. However, if a mandatory measure does not apply to the activities funded by your award, we ask that you enter 0 and then provide an explanation in an additional comment section once your report is complete. Upon viewing your complete report, you can click the blue comments box. This will allow you to submit additional comments to explain why you are not able to provide data. A brief description such as, we are still in our planning period, or there was no activity during the reporting period are sufficient responses. This information improves data quality by helping us understand the meaning of zeros reported in the system. BJA enhances data quality by assessing data consistency and accuracy in addition to encouraging grantees to review and revise data entries. BJA also enhances data quality by site visits conducted by BJA grant managers and assessing data accuracy by identifying documentation to support PMT data entries. For grantees, well-defined goals clarify priorities and establish criteria for success. For your program, you may want to consider setting SMART goals in order to clarify your priorities, reevaluate goals semi-annually to determine if changes to program priorities need to be updated, and to use the data in order to track your progress towards your goals. When defining your goals, you want to ensure that they are strong. On this slide, there are two examples of strong goals versus goals that are in need of improvement. As you can see, the stronger goals including more information and details, while the goals needing improvement are brief and lacking in details. We will now briefly discuss frequently asked questions. Receiving an error message. Follow the prompt to correct any errors or discrepancies, then click the Federal Awards page and review the data entry status and report status columns to make sure you have completed the data entry. Losing data. The PMT will time out after 30 minutes of inactivity. To avoid re-entering data, click the Save button before leaving the page. What does the question mark mean? On the data entry page, each measure in question, underlined in blue, is a link to more information. Click on or hover over the links throughout the page for definitions and instructions. Edit submitted data. If your report is locked, contact the PMT Help Desk to request that the report be unlocked. Updating information. It is crucial for PMT users to make sure the profile page has correct and complete contact information. Please update information in the grant management system first and then update in PMT. The red buttons. Red buttons are used as indicators to the action required on the page. Select the red buttons throughout the page and it will complete the task at hand or take you to the next step. Again, I would like to thank everyone for attending the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact the BJA PMT Help Desk Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. through 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're closed on federal holidays.